Natalie clicked Order Now on the grocery app, the glow of her phone illuminating her face in the darkened living room. It was nearly midnight in her quiet suburban Ohio neighborhood, and she felt the familiar hum of loneliness settle over her. She hadn't been expecting to crave anything at this hour, except maybe company. Her fridge was nearly empty, but her needs ran deeper than food. She ordered milk, strawberries, and some chocolate she didn't really need. Something about placing the order felt like an invitation, not just for groceries, but for something or someone to break the monotony of her solitude. When the doorbell rang, her heart skipped. She hadn't expected it so soon. Throwing on a robe, she padded barefoot across the hardwood floor and opened the door. A gust of cool air swept in, followed by him. He stood there in a black hoodie and jeans, grocery bag in hand, eyes locking with hers. He looked her over, not in a creepy way, but in a knowing way. "Delivery for Natalie," he said, voice low and smooth. She nodded slowly, accepting the bag, fingers brushing. Static passed between them. "Thanks," she said. "You're out late." He smirked. "So are you." She stepped back to let him in. Why, she wasn't sure. Maybe it was the way he lingered in the doorway, like he belonged. "Want to come in for a drink?" she offered, surprising even herself. He hesitated only for a moment. "Sure," he said, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. As he set the bag on her kitchen counter, she poured 2 glasses of wine. Her robe shifted, revealing the lace trim of her sleepwear. He noticed. She noticed him noticing. The air thickened. "You do this often?" she asked, handing him the glass. "Only for special requests." They talked about nothing and everything. She learned his name, Jake, and that he only worked nights. "Better tips," he said with a wink. He was easy to talk to and easier to look at. She couldn't stop glancing at his lips, wondering how they'd feel on her neck. He leaned against the counter, sipping wine, the hem of his hoodie lifting slightly to reveal a trail of skin. She was suddenly aware of the silence around them, how it hummed with tension. "Anything else I can deliver?" he asked, eyes holding hers. Her pulse skipped. "Maybe." Jake stepped closer. "You sure?" he asked. She nodded, lips parting as her breath quickened. She didn't say anything else, didn't need to. He set his glass down slowly, then reached out and cupped her face. His thumb brushed her cheek, then her lips. Their kiss was slow at first, tentative, exploratory. Then it deepened, his mouth demanding, hers eager to meet it. He pulled her closer, and her body melted into his. Groceries forgotten, Natalie let herself surrender to the hunger she hadn't known she'd been starving from. They made it to the couch, his hands roaming under her robe, mapping every inch of her skin. She moaned softly into his ear as he found the strap of her lingerie and slid it down. He tasted like wine and temptation, and she was all in. Clothes came off in stages, scattered across the floor. The heat between them built, their bodies moving with a rhythm born of raw need. He was attentive, skilled, like he wanted her to come undone over and over. And she did. Loudly, wildly beneath him. Afterward, they lay tangled on the couch, skin sticky and breath still heavy. "That's one hell of a delivery," she whispered, grinning. He chuckled, brushing hair from her face. "I aim to please." She didn't ask him to leave, and he didn't suggest it. He stayed until dawn, both of them drifting in and out of sleep. When she woke, he was gone. A note on the counter. "Thanks for the tip. Midnight deliveries available on request." She smiled, biting her lip. Something told her this wouldn't be the last time. Days passed. She tried to go about her normal routine, but every night at midnight she found herself checking the app. Not for groceries, but for him. On Friday, she placed an order for strawberries and cream, her heart racing as she hit confirm. When the doorbell rang, she didn't hesitate. Jake stood there, smirking, holding a small bag. "Miss me?" She pulled him inside before answering. "You have no idea." They didn't make it to the kitchen. He pressed her against the wall, kissing her like he hadn't touched anyone in years. She wrapped her legs around him, laughing between gasps. "You're early," she breathed. "You sounded hungry," he growled. He took her right there, the bag forgotten on the floor. Fast, intense, and without pretense. When it was over, he lifted her in his arms and carried her to the bedroom like she was weightless. This time, he stayed the whole night and the next morning. They started a pattern: midnight orders, secret meetings, stolen hours under the cover of darkness. She learned more about him in whispers between kisses. He loved music, hated mornings, and had a laugh that made her chest ache. It wasn't just sex anymore. They talked, cooked together, shared stories under candlelight. But Natalie didn't dare call it anything more. Whatever they had, it lived in the quiet corners between grocery bags and bare skin. Still, it felt real. Then came the knock she hadn't expected, her sister, dropping by unannounced, her timing impeccable. Jake was still shirtless, lounging on the couch. "Who's that?" her sister asked, eyes narrowing. Delivery guy," Natalie stammered. Her sister raised a brow. "You tip him very well, then." Jake smirked but retreated to the bedroom. After a tense coffee, her sister left, whispering, "Be careful." Natalie sighed. She didn't need a warning. She needed clarity. Later, Natalie asked him, "What is this? Are we just a late-night thing?" Jake looked at her for a long time. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but I know I don't want to stop." That should have scared her. Instead, it made her reach for him. They held each other in silence, neither ready to define what they were. But their bodies said everything their mouths couldn't. Every night after that felt deeper, more intentional, like they were building something without permission. Weeks passed. Fall set in, painting the town in oranges and reds. Natalie invited Jake to stay for dinner that wasn't after midnight. He showed up early, dressed in something other than work clothes. She barely recognized him, but she liked it. They sat across from each other at the table and for once didn't touch. It felt normal, like a date. She realized then, he made her laugh, made her feel wanted, made her feel safe. She hadn't felt that in years. After dessert, he kissed her with a sweetness that caught her off guard. "You make me forget I'm supposed to leave," he whispered. She held onto his jacket, tugging him back. "Then don't." That night, they didn't rush. He took his time, worshiping her with every kiss, every touch. When she came, it wasn't with noise, but with a gasp of his name that sounded dangerously close to love. One night she asked, "What would you do if this ended?" He looked at her carefully. "Are you planning on ending it?" She shook her head. "No, but I'm scared." He reached for her hand. "So am I, but I'm here anyway." They started spending days together, not just nights. Walks in the park, movies on the couch, spontaneous kisses at traffic lights. The delivery boy became something more. And Natalie started to hope. Then came the message, from an unknown number. A woman's name and a short sentence. "Tell Jake I miss him." Natalie froze. She didn't ask right away. But the seed was planted and doubt began to bloom. She finally showed him the message. He stared at it, then sighed. "That's my ex. We broke up a year ago." "You sure?" she asked. "Yes," he said. But the way he avoided her eyes made her stomach twist. For the first time in weeks, he didn't come over. Natalie tossed in bed, angry at herself for letting someone in. Her heart had started to trust him. Now it ached with uncertainty. She wanted to call, but didn't. Pride got in the way. On the third night, he knocked. She opened the door with her arms crossed. "You should have told me." He stepped inside, pulling out his phone, blocked her. "You're the only one I want now." And when he kissed her, she believed it. They healed slowly, letting honesty lead. Jake opened up about his past, his mistakes, his fears. Natalie shared her own walls, the reasons she'd built them. Their connection deepened, not just in bed, but in the spaces in between. One night she whispered, "I think I'm falling for you." He kissed her shoulder. "Then I'll catch you." And for once, she didn't doubt that he would. Jake started talking about quitting his delivery job. "I want something better. For us." Natalie supported him, but part of her felt a pang. Would the magic fade without midnight orders and secret encounters? But it didn't. If anything, it grew stronger. They made love at sunrise, went on road trips, laughed over burnt pancakes. Life with Jake was messy and unpredictable, but full. One stormy night, the power went out. They lit candles, made shadow puppets, and played cards by flashlight. It felt like a scene from a romantic movie, until the rain intensified and thunder shook the windows. Natalie flinched. "I hate storms," she admitted. Jake pulled her close. Then let me be your calm. They made love to the sound of rain, their bodies finding comfort in the chaos outside. They had their first real scare when Jake got into a minor accident at work. Nothing serious, but it shook them. Natalie rushed to the hospital, heart pounding. Seeing him bruised but smiling nearly broke her. "I thought I'd lost you," she cried. He kissed her knuckles. "You're not getting rid of me that easy." The fear passed, but the love deepened. As winter settled in, they started spending holidays together. Thanksgiving with her family, Christmas at his cousin's place. Blending their lives wasn't always easy. Different traditions, awkward relatives, but they made it work. Every night, no matter where they were, they ended up curled together under one blanket, warm in each other's arms. "This is home," Jake whispered. She couldn't have agreed more. Jake proposed on a snowy night in February. He did it quietly, no crowd, no spectacle, just them, standing in the kitchen where it all began. He held out a ring tucked in a grocery bag. "Midnight delivery," he joked, "forever included." Natalie laughed through tears. "Yes," she said, over and over. "Yes." They didn't need a fancy story, just their own, one that began with groceries and ended with love. The wedding was small but perfect. Friends, close family, fairy lights strung through the backyard. They danced barefoot under the stars, kissed like no one was watching. Every moment felt like a page from their story, one written in quiet hours and wild nights. As they left the party hand in hand, Natalie looked at Jake. "Can you believe this started with strawberries and chocolate?" He smiled. "I can, because you were the sweetest thing I ever delivered." Married life wasn't always sexy or spontaneous. Some nights were just laundry and late-night TV. But even in the mundane, there was magic, because they chose each other, again and again. One night, just for fun, Natalie ordered groceries after midnight. Jake answered the door wearing his old delivery hoodie, holding a single chocolate bar and a grin. "Special delivery," he said. "Right on time," she replied, pulling him inside. And just like that, their love story kept going, sealed with a kiss at the door.